Welcome to your LSU Football Fix. I'm Preston Guy, staff writer at TigerBait.com. What a slow day. What an incredibly slow day we've had for LSU, y'all. We have a lot to talk about. First and foremost, Max Johnson has entered the transfer portal. He will not play the bowl game. LSU will be down at starting quarterback for the bowl game with plans of Garrett Nussmeier redshirting. We do not know currently if Nussmeier will be willing to blow his red shirt to start in the bowl game. Only time will tell. We're going to talk about all these news items today. I've got Brian Kelly's wild day here. Of course, he hires former assistants. He hires strength and conditioning coaches, nutrition coach, some goods. Frank Wilson, big news with him. However, Jake Johnson, number one tight end in the country, decommits. Max Johnson, starting quarterback, enters the transfer portal. My stockings lose its bow. And now you can see the tape for my brand new sponsor tonight, who I'm also very excited to tell you about, Dead Soxy. Tonight's show is presented by Tramonte's Meat and Seafood. We're going to get more information on them. But y'all, this has been one of the wildest days in my time covering LSU. As such, I have decided to call in the big guns. I am bringing in Blake Ruffino. I was going to line up someone to talk about maybe Joe Brady coming. Well, then the Notre Dame coaches. And I said, no. I have to bring in someone who knows. They got to know what they're talking about with a lot of different areas because there's just a lot going on. I have reached out to Max Johnson's father, Brad Johnson, to figure out exactly what the details are, if it's permanent, if it's not. I'm told that Max Johnson met with LSU's coaching staff, Brian Kelly and company, and the meeting was very brief. Incredibly brief. And that's that. So I don't know. On one side or the other, this was a very curt relationship. Someone was not very interested in the other, whether it be Max Johnson and Brian Kelly or vice versa. It was quickly ended. So I do not expect to see Max Johnson in the bowl game. And y'all, I'm going to tell you this. The man himself said this. We were talking a lot today. This guy, Mike Scarborough, site owner, was telling me that this is not, it's going to get a lot darker before we start to see the light, LSU fans. LSU's down to 11 commitments. And there's 8 days before early signing day. Emory Jones, offensive lineman at Catholic High, very talented kid, announced earlier this week that he will not be signing with anybody for early signing day. He's going to wait and stick it out. Y'all, things are going to get a lot uglier before they get pretty. That's just, we are not near the bottom. We are expecting to see opt-outs, people not participating. This bowl game is going to be slapped together. It's going to be a tough one. And quite frankly, I wonder if LSU may ask to have someone replace their bid. Because, one of the things I'm wondering is, did Max Johnson leave due to being concerned about taking the field with kind of a barren roster? Because there's not supposed to be very many people out there. We're talking multiple. We're expecting linemen to be out and more. This is not the bottom, y'all. The bottom is yet to come. We're hearing buzz about players flirting around in the transfer portal. Of course, Miles Brennan. Of course, Eli Ricks. Of course, now Max Johnson's in there. On top of that, DeColdis Crawford, who was kind of in that usually would be your 25th man type talent for LSU, although an outstanding young man. One of my favorite recruits I've ever spoken with. He will make an outstanding representative for someone's university, and I would highly endorse any college coach looking for a quality young man. Go get Dakotas Crawford to be a part of your team, but he did decommit today. So in one day, you hire a strength coach, a nutrition coach, an assistant strength coach. You hire an associate head coach, Frank Wilson, who, by my understanding, is a pretty big grand slam for this Tiger team. I was expecting to come in here with some pretty wild news. Pretty. That's awesome, because one of the weaknesses with Brian Kelly is he doesn't know the area. He doesn't know the turf. But Frank Wilson knows it like the back of his hand. Real good ties with the New Orleans area. By all accounts, that's a perfect plug and play for this staff. Where do you go from here? We don't know. We'll have to see. It's going to be wild. I'm going to get to your comments. I do have to thank our title sponsor tonight, Tramonte's Meat and Seafood. They're your tailgating, homegating headquarters. If you're looking for some good catering for the bowl game, which we'll see if you're looking for it or not, they're your place to go. Go to Tramontes.com to view their selection. They have 30 kinds of meat and sausage, Wagyu beef. They have this bad boy here, Heaven's Door single barrel staff select straight bourbon whiskey. It is incredible stuff, picked out by their staff. Me and Mike cheers to it live when Brian Kelly got hired. I would highly suggest it. That does run $59. It's also a really good Christmas gift if you're looking to impress somebody with some high quality. Let's hear a little bit more from Tramonte's Meat and Seafood. Thank you for making tonight's show possible.
Tramonte's has meat. Tramonte's has seafood. Tramonte's has much more. Tailgating and home gating platters. Huge wine and liquor selection. Beer and all the spices you need. Chairman Reserve and Wagyu meats. Ribeye rolls, shrimp rolls, kebabs. 20 flavors of sausage for the grill. Daily lunch specials and game processing. On-site catering also available. Good meat ain't cheap and cheap meat ain't good. Visit Tramontes.com.
For making tonight's show possible. Our guest tonight is going to be Blake Ruffino. As I mentioned, as I alluded to earlier, he is wrapping up his show, probably grabbing a quick little dinner. He has a lot going on. He's going to be very knowledgeable on a lot of these issues we need to talk about. Before we get to him, I'm going to get to your comments. Let's see here. This was even before the show. As soon as we scheduled the show, people were up and commenting. National, let's see, name, image, likeness, and the portal are truly making me lose interest in college football. Yeah, it's kind of a wild world. Free agency in college football, and I wonder if the fluidity of it is actually impacting the coaching carousel, because one of the things that stands out, this rush to bring in a football coach, December, leave your team. It seems like that wouldn't be in place if signing day was in February still. I think if you want to fix the fluid nature of college football right now, you gotta fix the setup to where you're not incentivized to do wild things like bring a coach in December and abandon the 5th ranked team in the country. So I think free agency college football is running rampant, and it's a nasty beast. Now, I don't know that name and image likeness necessarily is flowing into that, but I will tell you this for sure. Absolutely, the signing days, early signing periods, and transfer portal 100% are. So I don't know, man. Guys, I can't believe 24 hours ago I was doing this show thinking that I had a beat writer for the Carolina Panthers lined up to see if Joe Brady, what went wrong with Joe Brady at Carolina, if he'd be a good fit. I don't know. He might be, but I'm hearing Florida Gators are interested. But as of today, we've got a lot more to talk about. Let's see here. Ray Davis, we only want players who want to be at LSU. You say that, but right now there's only 11 who want to be here. You got to give them a program that they can buy into. And currently, with all the disarray, no coordinators signed, it's just complete disarray. Here is Walt Longmire. stars don't matter. I thoroughly disagree. The data shows that if you're a 5-star player, you've got roughly a 50-50 chance at being a pretty darn good football player. Of course, more 3-stars are going to get drafted and more 4-stars are going to get drafted and so on and so forth. There's more of them. It's about your odds. And so not every 5-star is going to be a great player. Not every 3-star is going to be a bad player. Stars do matter. If you just look at the mass data, there's strong correlations. You want your recruiting class to be ranking high. The good news for this LSU class is the nucleus is still actually intact. Losing Jake Johnson today is a major blow. You still have 11 commitments. The number 1 quarterback in the country is committed and seems to be very solid. Although you could lose him with a bad coordinator hire, he seems to be mostly on board. I've got Blake Ruffino sitting in the back room, very excited for him to be on because I needed someone who wasn't afraid to tackle a number of issues. I got a few guys who were lined up who would be experts in maybe 1 or 2 of these. There's going to be only a handful of these guys who are experts in all of them, and I've definitely got this guy on board. Blake, give me a thumbs up if you're ready to go. He's backstage right now. He is, and welcome to your LSU Football Fix, Blake Ruffino. Slow day, huh?
All I know is I want the entire public to know this. I'm a little bit older than you, Preston, and you have always tried to be like your older brother, which is me. You got your wood made out like mine. I mean, it just, you want to be like me. All I want to say is that I'm glad to be here, but I know you want to be like Daddy. That's all I'm gonna say.
Ooh, Daddy, huh? I don't know about all that. I'll give you big bro, man. I don't know. You are good, like, I don't know, what, like 5 or 6 years older than me?
I don't know. How old are you?
I just made 30.
I'm 31. We're good.
All right, so maybe okay. All right, well, you got a year on me, so we'll slide that in. And look, I will say I'm seeing them next to each other. The wood tones, they do look to be a different tone. I want people in the comments to help us decide: are the backdrops the same or are they different? I argue they're different, but that's a topic for another night to settle. We'll let people debate it, but we'll settle it another night because look at all this. Brian Kelly's wild day. Of course, he hires former assistant Frank Wilson. He hires co-strength and conditioning coordinator out of Notre Dame, Jacob Flint, to replace Tommy Moffitt running the program. He also hires a grad assistant, Xavier Gooden. Also hires Matt Frakes to run the nutrition program. Max Johnson enters the transfer portal. Jake Johnson decommits. DeColdis Crawford decommits. And LSU is down to 11 commitments. Blake, not Jake. Man, there's been so many names floating through my head. Which of those is the biggest deal for this LSU program?
I think that it's going to be Frank Wilson and the staff coming together. I don't look. You know, a lot of people can make the argument, Preston, that it's Max Johnson, but Max, you know what, he's going to be here another year or two. Look, there's a lot of good quarterbacks in the portal. Jake Miller is a guy who's in the portal from Ohio State. He's also was highly recruited by Notre Dame. A lot of people are talking about there's a lot of good quarterbacks in the portal. So look, I think that Frank Wilson and other people being a part of this staff. Look, Brian Polian, for an example, I mean, I went down some of the guys that he was the primary recruiter on today. I mean, getting guys like Monte Teo, getting a lot of these tight ends that Brian Kelly and Notre Dame is so good for. So, I think that the staff is a bigger thing because, look, Max Johnson is not bigger than the probably 10 to 15 guys that you can get to sign in this early signing period. Like, what happens, Preston, if we get Quincy Wiggins, Jacoby Matthews, Harold Perkins? I mean, Max Johnson in the quarterback position is a big deal, but what if you're able to get all those guys? You got Walker Howard coming in. I still think that they got to hit the portal. So what, God forbid, what if you get a really good quarterback from the transfer portal? So I think that the staff coming together for me is a bigger deal than anything else.
Yeah, and I tend to agree just because those staff moves, especially, I mean, Frank Wilson left the head coaching position, which, correct me if I'm wrong, he wasn't necessarily in bad standing at McNeese.
And look, it was today. It was around 8:30, 9 o'clock. I called, our good friend Mike Scarborough, and I was like, Mike, what are you hearing about Frank Wilson? And it's not every day. But look, here's the truth, Preston. The associate head coach and position coach at LSU is going to pay more than what it would be at McNeese. You're going to get it's a better opportunity to be in that spotlight at LSU than it is McNeese. Now, look, I played in the Southern Conference. The South, and I don't know how much I can curse on here, and I'm not going to, because I don't want Mike to yell at me. But
that's true.
The the Southern Conference is absolutely Rudy Poo right now. Mm-hmm. I mean, look, I got coaches at Southeastern that are telling me that they want out of the Southern Conference because of how horrible it is. Now you got Frank Wilson making this big move after McNeese is going to get the next 7 baseball tournaments, and they're going to host so many things, and they accommodate them. So look, you're going to get more exposure at LSU, and I like the Frank Wilson move personally.
Well, and one of the things that stands out is that Brian Kelly, the biggest con we've heard is he's not familiar with the culture. Well, you bring in Frank Wilson, and that kind of fixes a lot of that knowledge of the area, the familiarity that's just lacking there. That kind of fixes a lot of those holes. So it's a big deal. The scoop I'm hearing on Brian Polian is he is a fantastic recruiter and a passionate recruiter. Although a lot of Notre Dame fans weren't upset to see him go. Yeah, what is LSU getting in Brian Polian?
Our good friend Brian Driscoll, did the whole Carlton dance thing, right?
Oh, yeah. He was excited.
Look, when you have a track record of bringing that many 5-stars in and that many tight ends in that go on to the NFL, #Kyle Rudolph. Yeah, right. I like Brian Driscoll, and he's a good buddy of mine. Sorry, Brian. Sorry about you. I mean, look, he's a good recruiter. Now, they were talking about more about special teams and things like that. But look, when I go down this list and I see Monte Te'o. Look, we all make fun of Monte Te'o for the fake girlfriend getting catfish and stuff like that. But here's the truth. He was a good player. When he was at the Saints, he was a good player. When he was at Chargers, he was a good player. I mean, he was a really good guy in college. Preston, correct me if I'm wrong. I think he went to the Heisman. He was a Heisman finalist.
Finalist, right?
So, I mean, you brought that guy in. He brought that guy in there. So, look, he's been a really good recruiter. And look, I heard this today from some Notre Dame people that quote unquote he doesn't know football. Preston, he's been around it his entire life. I mean, do we not know who his dad is? I mean,
have we talked about the Polian family?
Right.
I mean, his dad drafted Peyton Manning. Come on.
But look, here's the thing for all these guys, Frank Wilson and Brian Kelly included. They're about to come down here and make their money. You need depth now, right? Like, you need depth on the offensive line. You need depth at running back. You need depth at quarterback. You need depth at receiver. You need depth at D-line, linebacker, cornerbacks, and safeties. By the way, you need depth at every position because you're losing a lot. Preston, they only dressed 53 players last week or 2 weeks ago against Texas A&M. 53, Preston. And it's going to get rougher. It's going to be more rough than it's going to be tougher than it. How am I trying to say this, Preston? It's going to be darker days. You said this in my show today, and I thought it was very well articulated. There's going to be more darker days than there are brighter days. Look, you're going to get this high Frank Wilson, and then you're going to get this low Max Johnson, and it's going to kind of even kill itself until all this is settled.
Well, and what it really is things are going to get a lot darker before they get brighter, just because you're going through coaching changes. There's going to be that, you're going to, like a wax strip, you're just going to rip that Band-Aid off and you're just going to roll with it, and it should be tough. And I'm wondering what kind of team, because you say 53, and maybe some people who are watching the show don't recognize just how paltry that is for a college team, because you see NFL. In the NFL, that's 53 guys who are ready to play football, grown men. On a 53-man scholarship roster in college, not all those dudes are ready to play.
Well, and here's another thing, Preston. The people on the other sidelines also have 53. They don't have 91.
That's true.
So there's a big gap in there just from a number standpoint. If I don't know, I mean, you can throw any player out there. We saw with Garrett Dellinger, Cam Wire goes down, then what?
Yeah,
you're moving a guy who's a guard and Garrett Dellinger out to left tackle, and he's getting abused. So I mean, look, you need depth all over the place, and they've got a lot of good offensive tackles in the portal. You're going to have to go get them. Preston, this is the biggest recruiting. Listen to me. I don't care about where they're ranked at the end of all this. Hear me out. And I know Mike might disagree with me here, and it's going to be a hot take. This is the most important recruiting class for Brian Kelly and his tenure at LSU, no matter how long he stays. How does he react to the depth? Because it's different than being 9-3 versus 8-4 and 7-5. You know how I know that? Ask Jimbo. Now they're recruiting well, but it doesn't always matter or pan out that way. You have to be able to recruit this great class in the state.
Absolutely. And while one thing that I do want to point out to Chicken Littles out there, all of these roster moves will have temporary impact on the program. What really matters is the coaching hires that Brian Kelly's making and the position he puts the program in to compete long term. I mean, if the roster is a disaster and this recruiting class doesn't come together, you might be looking at a 3-9 season next year. But is that the same impact on the program as hiring the right head coach, as hiring your right coordinators, as keeping Walker Howard in the fold? You know what I mean? So that's I guess the silver lining in all this is most of the panic is going to be around temporary type situations. So,
well, to answer that, okay, there's look. I don't mean this in a wrong way, but with a very incompetent coaching staff, you won 6 football games. Okay, with a very bad Preston, they're running the ball they're running inside zone on 3rd and 7.
Right.
Okay, like let's not get this twisted. You got I forget his name, Cole Kublik running out there making comments about Jake Beats complaining in meetings that he doesn't know what to do when calling plays. That's essentially what Cole Kublik said when they played. I think it was who did they play? Was it Arkansas? I think when he made that statement. Can LSU roll out here with the recruits that they can get and win 6 games? The question is with a good coaching staff, a really good coaching staff, can you get that 8th win, that 9th win? And I think that they can get talent in here.
Absolutely.
They're going to get talent in here. The problem is that you need depth and you need it quickly.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, the roster is what the roster is, but we saw the roster was apparently good enough to compete in 9 out of 3 ball games. I'm trying to think, did Mike Scarborough talk some trash in the comments here? I'm assuming this is responding to him because he's 100% jealous he can't grow a beard like us. Like, that's a fact,
Yeah,
right?
he said, and I'm quoting, where is it? Another millennial beard show.
Who else? I brought on Will Blackwell.
Oh, that's true.
He loves the millennial beard stuff.
Former All-American Will Blackwell. Per sources, Mike Scarborough is mad because he can't grow a beard. The source, Mike Scarborough. Just going to throw that out there.
Yeah, he's told me himself, too, that he can't grow a beard, and he is actually a little bit jealous that we can with our, youth and millennialism, all that good stuff. So, yeah, no, I'm going to leave that comment up there just to keep some truth because I can't find his comment. There's so many comments tonight. I appreciate y'all dropping all the buzz. But, Blake, are we about to see Matt O'Dowd start in a bowl game for LSU? Is LSU going to complete the max exodus at quarterback with Nussmeier redshirting and Johnson saying, "I see you later," and Miles Brennan in the portal? Is that going to be something we really see?
Well, Tavion Falk tweeted out something. He put like the praying emoji, like on Twitter. And so for the millennials, it's like, hey, I'm ready. I'm ready to go. I wonder if they run a 2 quarterback system. I mean, I don't know what they're going to do, but you know who else has no idea what they're going to do? Kansas State. Yeah. Do you have a situation where you go full Bill Belichick and you run the ball 67 times in this game? Do you tell Tavion, look, we're going to run zone read until we can't run zone read anymore? We're going to throw quick passes, quick slants, or do you tell Matt O'Dowd that? I mean, look, LSU's facing the first losing season in 20 years, and look, it is what it is at this point. Look, I'm not going to bash Max Johnson. I just came off of my show saying that I'm not going to bash him. I had a little rant about, what people do about stuff like that. But, Preston, at the end of the day, let those guys come in and compete. What's crazy to me? And, like, your team needs you right now. And if you're Garrett Nussmeier, like, how do you look your team in the face and say, hey, look, guys, I'm taking a red shirt?
Yeah.
You know,
Well, it's different than Max Johnson because I think he's making a business decision for his future to turn away from something that he feels is bad from him. That's ultimately what any kid does who says, I'm entering the transfer portal, is I'm going a different direction. Nussmeier's still in the building. And I don't know. To me, I understand that red shirt be for the best interest of his long-term future. I have a hard time believing that he'll turn down a chance to start in a bowl game. But we'll see. It'll be wild to see. These are some wild times. And yes, I personally think that 20-year streak of non-losing seasons is a big deal because it's the second longest in the country.
and no, I thought it was number one, Preston. Is it
No,
not?
Oklahoma beats them by 1 year, actually. They started in 1999. LSU started in 2000. Because remember, 1999 was the DiNardo, Lou Tepper drug him into the ground.
Well, I see the comment here, the last comment from Brian Smith on YouTube. He says Nussmeier has to redshirt. Well, why does he have to redshirt? I mean, look, at some point you got to come to the realization like your team needs you. Okay, like, look, I don't mean to call this kid out specifically, but at the end of the day, like, are you legitimately going to walk in that locker room and say, "Hey guys, for my future, I'm going to redshirt"? Like, they do need you. Now, if he's hurt, if he has some situations going on, that's completely different. Then yeah, sitting. But you're not at that situation now. And Preston, you know what's so crazy? I know that you talk about this on Mike's show all the time, and it's where I agree with you so much. When we're in the spring, you had TJ Finley, Max Johnson, Miles Brennan, Garrett Nussmeier. Okay, brother, you're down to Garrett Nussmeier. I mean, look, Walker Howard's not here yet. Preston, you're legitimately down to Garrett Nussmeier. Oh, and by the way, he can't play.
Yeah.
Like, so when everyone wants to defend Ed Orgeron, and look, even the staff, I mean, the reason that Ed's ultimately fired is how horrible he was with roster management. Preston, you can't go anywhere. And look, injuries are a part of the game, but you can't go anywhere along any position and say you don't have roster or depth issues. John Emery, you mean to tell me that kid missed a class? Look, and I know I'm preaching to the choir with you, Preston, here, but at some point it gets frustrating, right? Like,
to have a kid make any sort of scheduling error, academically speaking, with those kind of resources, that's sheer incompetence. There's no other way to put it, because you need to be having full-time people making sure by themselves that those classes, those requirements, they're met. When you have a $28 million locker room, when you have a 102,000 seat stadium, when you have a $9.5 million a year coach, you do those things, period. End of discussion. And we never have to worry about a John Emery Jr. with eligibility issues. It's foolishness. And that is why a national champion coach is out 21 months later, because it was disarray and there was no signs of it being over anytime soon. Fortunately, there are.
But look, Preston, I want to say this too. Even though that, we're very emotional creatures, that's what kind of separates us from the other mammals in this world. Like, look, bro, we got some really good coaches in here today. Okay. Like, you're going to be okay. Mm-hmm. What happens this weekend, Preston, or on National Signing Day, when you do get Jacoby Matthews, or you do get Quincy Wiggins, and you do get Walker Howard, and you do get Will Campbell, and you do get all these guys, look, it's going to be okay at the end of now. Look, you're going to go through some growing pains. Look, if if Emory Jones and Will Campbell is starting on the left side of the offensive line next season, you're in trouble. I don't care how talented those guys are, because you know what? As Pete, everybody, I see people asking about Pete Golden. I'm just going to use his name. Do you really think that Pete Golding's not going to send an overloaded blitz to the right side of the offensive line and say, "Hey, young bucks, figure it out"? And you're going to go through those growing pains, but you're going to see better days. Preston, I saw from Pro Football Focus, there was one offensive lineman on LSU's team this year that didn't give up a sack. Austin Deculus. You know why? Because there was nothing that you could do that he hasn't seen before. And so you're going to get that experience with time and reps.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're just not going to have experience next year. Any way you slice it or dice it. Certainly not experience in purple and gold. So
No, you're
it's gonna
not.
be a rough season. I mean, and
Preston, let's go through that. Okay, let's go through that. Quarterback you won't, running back you won't, offensive line you won't. The only position that you would have is maybe some wide receivers and maybe a tight end with Cole Kelly. That's it.
Yeah.
That's Preston. That's legitimately it. Then you go to the defensive line. Yeah, you have some linebackers. You have zero. Okay, and then the back end you have Dwight McLaughlin, and maybe Cardell Flott surprises you and comes back. Then what?
It'll be rough. Hopefully the good news is there aren't very many people who say I'm ready to bolt early for the draft after the season, but historically that's not been the case at LSU. It seems like it's a culture of these guys just going, and it goes to that roster management. I mean, whether it be coaching staff or players, Orgeron could not manage a lineup, a staff, anybody. It seems like all sorts of people were leaving, going. So you have to think LSU's probably going to have coordinators lined up in the next 8 days, right?
Maybe, Mike Donbrock, who's the offensive coordinator for Cincinnati, his name kind of keeps trickling around. He was at Grand Valley State, and he was also at Notre Dame with Brian Kelly. There's a lot of things rolling around, but Preston, he's in a playoff game. Okay, so if he's your guy, ultimately, number one, do you wait for him? And number two, do you wait for him to, do you wait for New Year's Eve? Do you wait until December 31st? I mean, look, you got some time here. Look, I don't know. And look, the good thing about Brian Kelly has been, and why today's news was such a flux for everybody, Preston, I know for a fact that I wasn't hearing about Frank Wilson until earlier this morning. Do you know how locked down they've been? I mean, it's been very impressive. So look, I don't know ultimately where they'll go. I said this tonight on my show, this whole Joe Brady thing, I'm not really necessarily buying it to a degree.
Yeah.
But Joe Brady is telling you something, Preston. He's telling you that he might ultimately not want to go to Miami because look, every time you hear a contract has been offered, so to speak, Lincoln Riley, Joe Brady, normally they want to go somewhere else. Mm-hmm. And maybe there's an offer. I don't know. I don't think that he comes back here. I could be wrong. I could ultimately be wrong, but we'll see.
Yeah, and you'd hate to see that offense be brought somewhere in your opposition. To me, I've been laughed at by a lot of people who know what they're talking about when I say, man, I kind of like Joe Brady being here. I can't ignore that Insminger's on staff. I can't ignore the production before and after and then during his tenure here. I can't ignore that LSU has an experienced play caller as head coach and maybe could work with him through his learning curves. And ultimately LSU shouldn't be worried. They don't need a head coach for the offense and a head coach for the defense anymore, hopefully. There's a head ball coach who can teach your coordinators how to call plays. That's the idea.
Well, what's interesting there too is that Brian Kelly also was a defensive coordinator at Grand Valley State. Like he's called both plays. He's called on both sides of the ball.
Yeah.
So he's got that experience where he can not only help the defensive coordinator, look, Tommy Rees is not a guy that went out there and had multiple regimes of where he was calling plays. He went to Notre Dame and started calling plays. Preston, they threw the ball. I watched the Stanford film last night. Preston, they were dicing up Stanford, like dicing them up. They threw the ball 25 times in the first half, and people at Notre Dame's calling Brian Kelly conservative and holding Tommy Rees back. At what point does a kid throw the ball for 25 times in the first half, and you're telling him he's being conservative? I think that Brian Kelly is a really, really good mastermind and a really good X's and O's coach while being a damn good CEO of it. Mm-hmm. And look, for all intents and purposes, he's the best overall head coach that you've had in here since Nick Saban. And look, this isn't his first rodeo. The one thing that us LSU fans have to understand, I hope everybody agrees with this because it's just the truth. Ed Orgeron and Les Miles aren't in football ops. Like, I feel like we have to shift our mindset to who's actually in that building. Like, Brian Kelly's in that building. with all due respect to Ed Orgeron, he's not in that building. So it's a big difference.
No, it's a big deal. And I think the thing is that these average to, let's be honest, calling them average coaches might be a little generous for the last couple coaches, but they've come in and won at high levels. So you would expect that even if there's an average coach, they could win big. And let's be real, the man has coached in 400 football games. You're going to have some criticisms of a guy who's coached for 30 plus years. It's just like his coaching career is older than you, as we just learned earlier in the show. 31 years. It's older than you.
It's older than you too.
It's much older than me. I do want to say I did reach out to Garrett Nussmeier and asked him about if he will play in the bowl game, if he's made a decision. And during the show, he did reach back out to me and say, I'm sorry, I do not have any comment at this time. So,
all right. Okay. Just so everybody can gather what you just said, say it again.
Okay. So I reached out to Garrett Nussmeier, right? And I asked him if he's made a decision on if he plans to keep his red shirt or not for the bowl game, right? And he said, I apologize. I have no comment at this time. So that to me tells me that the decision has not been made.
Or it tells you the decision has been made and he doesn't want it out there.
Well, it's going to get out there one way or the other, but he might get in trouble for leaking it out. So he did respond and say that. So look, I apologize for the breaking news, no news little segment there, but I got the text that might be relevant to y'all on air. Blake, I appreciate you popping in, man, because I needed someone. I had to bring in the big guns today. I had to, because I can't just find Joe Blow willing to talk about all this wide variety of issues: recruiting, new coaches, strength and conditioning, new head coach. Oh, man, so you were great tonight. I appreciate you. Look,
hashtag Ruffino effect.
Hashtag Ruffino effect. That's exactly what we did tonight. Tell people where they can see the Ruffino effect, where they can get the big guns every single day.
AYS Sports across the board. Preston, I love your show. I love everything that you guys are doing over at TigerBait. You're always fantastic. Look, you're an innovative thinker, and I appreciate you for bringing me on. But AYS Sports across the board, go to YouTube. YouTube channel's really taken off. I'm not the big technological guy, so I'm learning, right? So just subscribe, follow. Look, we've had over 1,200 followers that follow us on Twitter. So AYS Sports across the board, we'd love to interact with you. We look like you, Preston. We interact with our fans more than anybody. We bring their comments up. It's really fun. And look, not all fans are stupid. They have a lot of good thoughts, and I love every one of them. And Preston, as always, thanks for having me on, buddy.
Yeah, man. Thank you. This has been my not good friend, but great friend, Blake Ruffino. Y'all give him a follow. Appreciate him for stopping by.
I got to come on my little brother's show, right? Like, how Max Johnson transfers because Jake Johnson probably wants to go somewhere. I got to come on your show.
That's exactly right. Got to support it. By the way, I called him 27 minutes before his show tonight, y'all, and asked him to come on. I said, Blake, you got to bail me out, man. And he said, I got you.
All right,
he might have cracked some jokes on me before then, but he came on. Appreciate you, Blake.
All right, buddy. Well, have a good.
Oh, cut him off early there. That's okay. He'll forget me. He'll make fun of me later in some sort of group chat. But that has been Blake Ruffino of Are You Serious Sports. Still plenty to talk about tonight. I'm going to get to your comments right now because there's a lot to talk about. I want to know what you're interested, because we can go a lot of different directions. We can talk about potential coordinators. We can talk about what's going on with quarterback. We can talk about the bowl game against Kansas State. All sorts of things. But before I do that, we got to pay some bills tonight, and I want to introduce a new sponsor. I'm very excited. As you can see behind me, my stocking is stuffed. Brand new sponsor of the show, Dead Soxy. I'm going to show you these very high-quality pair of socks. All they do is socks, right? They have their college line of socks. This is their LSU line. They make them. I got the Go. This is what I wore for conference championship. Geaux-tigahs on the inside. They've got the little tiny rubber bullets that don't hurt your hair, pull your hair or anything, but they're very comfortable. Keep the sock up. It's the best sock I've ever worn, and I mean that. One of the great things about our sponsors at TigerBait.com, we thoroughly vet our sponsors. We don't just want any sponsor. We've got people we know, people we trust, people we consume their product as well. So Dead Soxy has their holiday sale going on. The link is in the bio. Use code TigerBait to get 25% off of any order. They also have 30% holiday sale. Get on $120 or more, use holiday 30 to get 30% off. 40% off an order of $240 or more with holiday 40. Each tier has a code that must be applied to checkout. Free shipping on all orders of $60 or more. Each order over $120 will also get a free mesh bag while supplies last. Stock your sock drawers and have a wonderful holiday season as always. Stay socksy. And as you can see, I've got 2 of their stockings in my stocking behind me. Plenty more to talk about. I've got a super chat here. Christian, will LSU be able to catch up to Bama, Georgia, and A&M in the 22 recruiting class after getting Coach Kelly? Christian, your answer is almost certainly going to be no. Because while they have a great nucleus, they only have 11 players on board right now. They have the number 1 quarterback in the country. They've got a 5-star offensive tackle and 3 more very quality offensive linemen and a few good pieces in there. That being said, there's going to be more darkness before the light, as we've been talking about all night long. You're going to lose more players. You're going to have decommits. You're going to have opt-outs, transfer portals. It's just that's the nature of the business and the coaching change, especially one where you're bringing an outsider coach in. LSU fans haven't really seen a situation like this in years because, remember, they promoted Ogeron from within, so the last time was Les Miles. And if you remember in that Les Miles recruiting class, they signed 15 players in 2005. So I don't think the recruiting class is ever going to show up as a top-notch recruiting class, like on paper. I think they're probably going to get 5 or 6 guys. They're going to get some big stars. They might. I expect them to end up about 18 to 20 commitments. I didn't actually expect Jake Johnson or Max Johnson. I will say I talked to their father. He alluded to possibly them making a decision about the future, but I just figured that everybody was making a decision about their future with the LSU program, being that there was a new coaching staff coming in, and that's just kind of them being a PC. Well, turns out they had a little more up their sleeve, and I would not expect to see either one of them in an LSU uniform. That's very sad for 2 quality young men who have been in this program. Let's see. Did not Les win 121 games at LSU, or did somebody else win those games? Well, he won those games, but it wasn't by himself. I don't know. He certainly did not prove himself to be an elite caliber coach. That's for sure. Nuss transferring, I don't know. I haven't heard that yet. We'll see. That's why Max went to the portal today. Let's see here. What did we see here? Big guns. Yeah. And Blake Ruffino is the big guns. Let's see here. Blake is the waiter pistol compared to Mike Scarborough. Oh, get out of here. Get out of here. We don't like hearing positivity about Mike Scarborough. Levy to OU, done deal. Is that actually, did they announce that on the show? I will say this. Oklahoma State's defensive coordinators signed with Ohio State today. And if Ole Miss coordinator Levy is off to Oklahoma, seems like a lot of the top named coordinators are pulling their names out of the hat. So, man, you hope LSU better get things going before the coordinator costs them big here. Let's see here. Average friend. No, he's a very good friend. Let's see here. I'm gonna skip down a little bit. Man, a lot of bickering in the comments. Let's see here. I agree LSU needs some urgency. That's from Joseph Fuselier, who's a regular to the show. And yeah, they do need to show some urgency because this roster is a problem. Now, if you don't show urgency and you're just making long-term moves for your program, great. But the roster is going to be terrible next year because I have questions about what this bowl game roster is going to look like. Lots of turnover. Coach O to McNeese. No, it's not. I think Coach O is done. and he's going to retire and enjoy the rest of his life. I think he's burnt out. I really do. And I think that we saw that from the moment the national championship ended. Are you guys on the set? No, this is the TigerBait B studio. This is the alternate studio we have set up here. I've been making some improvements to it as we go, though. Got the new stocking back there with the stockings. Y'all make sure to check the bio after this broadcast and go get you some dead socksy. Because, dude, I'm not kidding. And by the way, this is not a paid spot for them. Earlier was a paid spot. This is me just saying it. They're really insanely comfortable, good socks. I'm wearing them right now. Highly recommend it. Go check them out. They have a whole LSU and, by the way, a Saints section too, in case you're interested. So go check them out. They also have a few other Southeastern Conference colors down there too. Let's see here. Where is Deion Smith going to land? Ole Miss or MSU? Are you sure, Smith, former MSU commit? Also, LSU should pursue Aaron Brule of Rommel out of the transfer portal. Thanks. Great show, Preston. I don't have any information on Aaron Brule. I imagine they're going to be going after pretty lofty names in the transfer portal. That's why I'm telling you this recruiting class might not look great, but I think once you weigh in transfers, I am imagining that the roster rebuild will go pretty well because there's a lot of names in the transfer portal right now. Just settle down, calm down. It's okay. It's okay. But that being said, I don't think Deion Smith has officially entered his name in the transfer portal, but there has been a lot of buzz around here. Since Garrett came early to LSU, does it affect his red shirt with the bowl game being January 1st? Von Bluesman, very good technical question, but the answer is no. It's the season. This season is considered one cohesive season, and you get 4 games before you have the red shirt. So we'll see. I don't know. I think one of the reasons Garrett Nussmeier was contemplating a red shirt is it would make him a lot more appealing if he were to hit the transfer portal later on because, quite frankly, with the logjam he was looking at when making that decision before the Alabama game. I mean, I don't think Miles Brennan had announced his transfer portal decision yet. Max Johnson certainly hadn't. And then you get the number 1 quarterback on your heels in the country, Walker Howard, and possibly behind him a guy like Arch Manning, although at this point, that seems very far away. I have a gut feeling that Garrett Nussmeier will want to play in the bowl game. But we shall see because there's a lot of people that might say, well, the wise choice would be to preserve your red shirt. But they need you now. They need you now, and you're going to get some good experience, and you're going to enter a battle at LSU next year between Walker Howard and Nussmeier. So unless you want to transfer, if you don't want to transfer, just go ahead and play. That's what I think. And I think that the appeal to transferring with Miles Brennan and with Max Johnson both out of here, I think the appeal is much less so there. And not to mention, you can always just use next year to redshirt. I mean, you go somewhere and sit on the bench for a year behind someone. Any potential of Brennan sticking around? Well, that odd did go up a good bit today, but I'd still say it's fairly unlikely. It's possible he pulls his name out of the transfer portal. Let's see here. LSU is ranked number 15 in their current signing class, but Coach Kelly is seeing 5-star linebacker today. Yeah, he's supposed to go see Harold Perkins tomorrow. I can't verify that, but that is the buzz on the street. I did check with Harold. Haven't heard back. Harold's a little bit of a tougher kid to reach out to. I haven't gotten anybody to confirm either way. Let's see here. Camilo Perez, Kendall Briles, talking about potential offensive coordinator. Kendall Briles is the offensive coordinator at Arkansas. Part of me says LSU wouldn't touch Kendall Briles because of the last name Briles. He was on staff at Baylor while all that icky stuff was going on there with Art Briles and the Title IX and the sexual assault allegations, all that good stuff. And LSU probably wants to go in a different direction, a cleaner direction. But I'm not sure that Kendall Briles had any involvement at all So maybe so. Throw some money at Steve Ensminger. Y'all, that's one of the things I mentioned to Blake earlier. I can't ignore, and I've been laughed at a couple times by guys for pushing this horse of Joe Brady, saying going for the shiny object. I can't ignore that Ensminger is on staff at LSU currently and would be there to help guide Joe Brady. I can't ignore that LSU has a head coach who knows how to call plays and knows how to tutor coordinators. In fact, Tommy Rees has only been a coordinator for 2 years, and he looks like a very nice, bright mind. So I also think that a lot of guys struggle in the NFL that do well in college. There's a lot of very good coordinator coaches in the NFL level, and quite frankly, you kind of need some break. Yes, he had a talented roster, but we saw most of that same roster in place in 2018, and they weren't able to put it all together. I think I really wanted to bring on a beat writer from Carolina to discuss this, but I think he might need some improvement calling plays, but his playbook is very good. So to me, all that, I'm like, man, I would go get him. I would go give Joe Brady a shot. I took a Twitter poll, 1,000 people voting. It was 56-44. Yes, 56% of people wanted to bring in Joe Brady, 44 did not, and people were very divided either way. So it's one of the more controversial topics, but to me, I think he's worth a shot. I think he's absolutely worth a shot because of the potential, what we saw in 2019. And look at Carolina, y'all. You know how many quarterbacks have started football games for them? Y'all, they brought in Sam Darnold this year. And we're sitting there acting like, whoa, they got their quarterback. And he had identical stats to the year before at the Jets. Maybe Sam Darnold wasn't a very good quarterback. Y'all, they had XFC quarterbacks starting games. They brought Cam Newton out from the grave and put him out there for the last couple games. I mean, Teddy Bridgewater was there and played decently for a while, but then he got hurt. Christian McCaffrey's played 7 games since he's been there. That's a lot of star power and a lot of bad quarterback play. I'm not sure that Brady got a fair shot there. Now, I will say a lot of people said predictable play calling. I wonder how much of that has to do with the revolving door with players there and having to simplify the playbook for them. I also know that Matt Rule is not in firm standing, and look, we see it everywhere you go. When things go bad, the first thing to go is the coordinators. Fire a coordinator, buy yourself a year. The coordinators a lot of time are a fall man. That's the reality. So I don't know. I would give Brady a call. I wouldn't mind Kendall Briles either. I'm just giving you the scuttlebutt. Spencer Rattler to LSU. That's Dr. Romance. At this point, I have no information indicating that Spencer Rattler would come to LSU, but that destination just became a lot more attractive. I will tell you this. If Nussmeier were to leave LSU, you would have to get somebody out of the transfer portal. You cannot roll out there next year with just Walker Howard as your only quarterback, especially an undersized true freshman quarterback. I mean, I'd say undersized. He's 6'1". He's Drew Brees' size, but he is coming off an injured season where he had a clean break of his fibula in his leg. So, I mean, man, they're going to get a quarterback out of the transfer portal. What caliber of quarterback, we shall see. But I'm going to tell you, it's a lot more likely now than it was, let's see, 80 minutes ago. Let's see here. Kelly hasn't won a game in the SEC. That's not true. Kelly beat LSU in the bowl game just a few years ago. Let's see here. Who would you like to see Brian Kelly hire as OC and DC? Well, I wanted Oklahoma State's DC, whose name escapes me because so many names have hit me so much recently. OC, look, I already said, look, I'd give Joe Brady the shot. Absolutely. And if not, Kendall Briles is a guy I wouldn't feel bad about. Barry Odom is a good DC I'd like to see. Will Muschamp, I'd like to give him a chance. Now, I've heard Manny Diaz has some serious problems as a coordinator, but I mean, even him, I like having former head coaches on your staff. To me, that's a good formula for success, and that you just have a lot of big name guys who with accomplishments that they can go out and recruit with, all that good stuff. I want to take a moment. I'm going to get to more of your comments, of course, but I do want to take a moment to thank my sponsor, Tramonte's Meat and Seafood. They've been our title sponsor all season. They've supported our show, and they have been great to our fans, giving out gift cards, all sorts of good stuff. They're currently featuring Heaven's Door single barrel staff select straight bourbon whiskey. As you can see there, it even says Tramonte's Private Select. It is good stuff. It is smooth stuff. It will impress. If you have a whiskey drinker in your family, stick that in the stocking this year. I mean, you will impress them. Go check them out. They're located on Old Jefferson next to Parkview Baptist. You go visit Tramontes.com for more information. Let's hear a little bit more from Tramontes.
Tramonte's has meat. Tramonte's has seafood. Tramonte's has much more. Tailgating and homegating platters. Huge wine and liquor selection. Beer and all the spices you need. Chairman Reserve and Wagyu meats. Ribeye rolls, shrimp rolls, kebabs. 20 flavors of sausage for the grill. Daily lunch specials and game processing. On-site catering also available. Good meat ain't cheap and cheap meat ain't good. Visit Tramontes.com.
Walker Howard will be standing in uniform on the sideline in the bowl, correct? No, he will not. Let's see here. Roy Halloway, Garrett will not be at LSU come January. We'll see, man. It'll be kind of crazy. By the way, if you're watching, we're almost at 10,000 subscribers. If you've enjoyed the show tonight, I'd really appreciate you. Hit the like button on the video, because Mike Scarborough makes fun of me for beating me that every week. I'd really appreciate you just hit that like. But also, if you're on YouTube watching, hit that subscribe button to our page. We're creeping up on 10,000 followers. It's been very exciting building this page and show throughout the year. We're contemplating adding this LSU Football Fix. We're making it year-round. So if you support the show, I'd appreciate you supporting it like that. I want Elko. Aaron, I wouldn't mind Elko at all. That's a good coach. I'll tell you what, I would not be upset if that's the guy. Any of these guys that we're naming, there's not nearly as much pressure to me as hiring these coordinators as it is the head coach, because you have a head coach who knows X's and O's and can scheme and can tutelage up a sharp coordinator and make him a great coordinator. Just don't give me a coordinator who's a dum-dum, who shows no promise. In fact, if he promotes Durante Jones, I actually have a good feeling about that, because Durante's shown some serious promise. Let's see here. Joe Brady was not ready for the NFL. I think there's a strong argument for that. And maybe he's more suited for the college game. But a lot of people wrote him off because, he doesn't like recruiting. Well, guess what? If it's his job, I bet you a lot of people would. I bet you he'll start liking recruiting a lot better. Let's see here. Rule is tough on his staff. That's another thing I was hearing. And that's Gerald Holyfield, by the way, who is always a part of this show, one of the admins of one of my favorite LSU Facebook groups, the Real LSU Fans. He is tough on his staff, and there was some strained relationship there. So you have to also wonder if the chemistry between head coach and coordinator was truly there. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why a coordinator would not work out. Let's see. If Joe Brady was promoted to OC after 2019 and Slinger retired, nobody would have a problem. I agree. That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't think watching him strike out at the NFL level is a reason to avoid him at the college level. I say go get your guy. Odom is okay. I wouldn't be mad if we had this. I agree. That's Joseph Fuselier, another regular to the show. That's exactly where I'm at. I'm like, and look, Brian Kelly, you've won 300 football games, man. Go teach your coordinator how to coordinate. Go develop your coaching staff. Of course, he did a great job bringing in a guy who can bring things to the table that he just never can bring. He can't bring connections in Louisiana like Frank Wilson can. So let's see here. Someone corrected me earlier. Joseph Fuseli said he said in the SEC, not against the SEC. Well, what you expect, man? Let's see. Look. Gerald says, "Hell no, not DS." Yeah, look. There's going to be a lot of people who agree with you. I don't know. I'd have to do more digging into his numbers and scheme and things of that number. Ooh, hire Tom Herman as OC. Ed Ogeron is rolling over in his grave at that comment. I dig it. Yeah, no, I would be just flabbergasted. That would be an absolute grand freaking slam at OC. Not to mention ties to Texas, passionate recruiter, head coach resume. I mean, there's a lot of people arguing he shouldn't have been fired at Texas. Yeah, no, that would be an absolute grand slam. I might even take Tom Herman over Joe Brady, but either one, I consider that'd be pretty awesome. Shannon Williams, where are the socks from? Dead Soxy. Use the promo code TigerBait, 25% off your order. I've got the link in the bio. Okay, you can also just go to deadsoxy.com and search their college collection and go to the purple and gold collection. They've got tons of very high quality socks. Perfect Christmas gift, y'all. Use that promo code TigerBait to get 25% off your order. Free shipping on orders above $60. So who is Frank Wilson? Frank Wilson, former recruiting coordinator at LSU. He landed a plethora of high-profile recruits. He's got intimate relationships across Louisiana with high school coaches. He landed the likes of Leonard Fournette, Tyrann Mathieu. I apologize, guys. I'm choking up a little bit here. But anyways, very high-profile coach, running back guy, players coach, very well-loved. It's a big-time hire. He was formerly the coach at McNeese and University of Texas at San Antonio. He was in pretty good standing at McNeese, but McNeese is it's a rough program. A lot of that at that level, you have to split the talent a lot of ways in this state. So I could see why he'd want to come back. And good on Kelly for convincing him to do so. Brady has stated before he does not like to recruit. I get it. People change, though. So if it's your job to recruit and you need to go get good players, I think he can do a good enough job. Again, though, I don't think your coordinators have to be the world's best recruiters. Those are your guys who bring scheme to the table. Frank Wilson, go hit the recruiting trail. Joe Brady, just go out there and talk about your schemed guys. And also, let me tell you this about being a great recruiter. I think what really makes you a great recruiter is being a great coach. Really. I think one of the things Saban does is tell people we're going to do big things and boast his accomplishments, and players are magnetized to that. Getting some goofy comments, getting some slimy comments here. I got to work my way through. Let's see here. What are my prediction for the coordinator hires? Oh, man. Prediction? That's a tough one, man. Oh, I can't say a true prediction. It's too soon, and it's going to be someone kind of off the wall. I would not be surprised if all the names we're saying now, it doesn't end up being one of them, but it ends up being someone we're perfectly happy with. Well, guys, it's been an outstanding show. Please hit the like and subscribe button to our channel. If this is your first time watching, appreciate y'all. Mike goes live tomorrow night. We'll, of course, have more breakdown on the transfer portal. We expect more opt-outs to come. Y'all don't go anywhere. I'm going to hear a quick message from Tramonte's, and we're going to hop.
Tramonte's has meat. Tramonte's has seafood. Tramonte's has much more. Tailgating and homegating platters. Huge wine and liquor selection. Beer and all the spices you need. Chairman Reserve and Wagyu meats. Ribeye rolls, shrimp rolls, kebabs. 20 flavors of sausage for the grill. Daily lunch specials and game processing. On-site catering also available. Good meat ain't cheap and cheap meat ain't good. Visit Tramontes.com.
Great show tonight. Thank y'all for watching your LSU Football Fix. I am Preston Guy. I'll see y'all next week. Same time, folks.